Good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parsha Shoftim, Tavshin Pei Gimel. We're going to start towards the end of the Parsha, Perek Chaf, Pasuk Aleph, chapter 20, verse 1. Depending how much time we have, we'll go back to something earlier in the Parsha, but this is where we're going to begin today. All right. Ki seitzei lamelchama lo yivecha, when you go out to war against your enemies, v'ra'isa sus v'rechev, you'll see horses and chariots. Am Rav Mimcha, a nation that is more numerous than you. Leisira mehem, don't be afraid of them. Ki Hashem Elokecha imach, for Hashem your God is with you. Hamal chameretz Mitzrayim, that brought you up from the land of Egypt. So this is the first thing that Moshe telling the Jewish people. When you go out to war, you'll be scared. You'll see great armies coming against you. Don't be afraid. Hashem is with you, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. And it shall be when you will approach war. The Kohen will approach and speak with the people. There was a Kohen who was sent to go to war with the Jewish people. And he said, and he will say to them, Shema Yisrael, hear Israel. You shall approach today for war against your enemies. Don't let your hearts get weak. Al tiru, do not be afraid. Al tachpazu, do not be broken. I'm sorry. Al tachpazu, do not panic. Val tartzim ipneim, and do not be broken before them. For Hashem your God that goes with you, to wage war with you, with your enemies, to save you. That's the Kohen's speech before the war. And then the Torah says in Pasuk Hey, V'dibur hashoitrim ala'am. And then there are the officers that shall speak to the people. I'm not going to read through all what the officers speak about, but in short, the officers announce that there are people who are exempt from going to battle. It's like everybody shows up for battle, but then there's an announcement made about certain people that we exempt them from going to war. And those people are mentioned: a person who just built a house, a person who's planted a vineyard, a person who just betrothed a woman in marriage. Anybody who's afraid, they should not go to the battle. That's what the officers announce. Now let's go back to Pasuk Aleph and see just how the Ramban Nachmanides explains this pasuk. So Ramban says that what the Torah is saying is that you should not become weak-hearted and don't be afraid of your enemies. And the pasuk also is saying, "Shelo yiftachu bazeh b'gvurasam lachshe b'libam gibarim anachnu v'anshe chayla melchama." And they shouldn't say to themselves. So there's number one: don't be afraid. Number two, don't start trusting in your own military skills. Rakshi yeshivu libam al Hashem, but rather they should focus their hearts to God. V'yivtechu b'yeshuasai, and put their trust in His salvation. V'yachshu kiloi b'gvuras hasus yachpatz, they should think that Hashem does not want the power of the horse, v'lo b'sheikah yeshirtzen, or the thighs of man. Ki-right, meaning man's strength. Hashem wants those who fear Him, those who hope for His kindness. This is something that we say in davening every day. So the Ramban is saying that first the pasuk says, "Leisira mehem," don't be afraid of them. Ki Hashem Elokecha imach, for Hashem your God is with you. That number one says, don't be afraid because Hashem is with you. But it also means to say that do not think that you have the power to go ahead and wage war, that you should put trust in your own military capabilities. V'amar lilachem im ayvechem ki aprim lefnechem lacharev. V'melashia eschem shem yinatzu b'melchama. Okay. Lo yifkaid mehem ish. Ki tachen sheyiнаtzchu es ayveim v'yamusu gam mehem rabim k'terach hamelchames. Now, this part of what the Ramban is going on is actually going on in the Kohen's announcements, when it says Hashem your God goes with you to make war with you. So to make war with you means that He's going to defeat the enemies. To save you means that Hashem has the ability to bring such success in war that no one will get killed. I mean, even in a successful war, people get killed. The trust that the Jewish people can have in Hashem is that, or in their minds, they should be thinking that Hashem can bring down their enemies and save them, that none of them will be lost. Okay, now, the Kohen, who is the servant of God, is the one who exhorts them about how they should be cognizant and put their trust in Hashem. The officers, they have to speak to the people on a practical level. On a practical level, people get killed in war. The Kohen, who is the servant of Hashem, tells the Jewish people to have trust in everything, trust in success, trust in survival. The Shoftim, on the other hand, the officers, when they speak to the people, the whole point of what they're saying is that anybody who is at a certain stage in life, that if they die, basically they'll lose out on that stage, on that special occasion. They go back because they're not going to be able to fully put themselves into the war. A person who just built a house and he doesn't have a chance to live in it, and he may die in battle, that's going to disturb him during war. So the way the Ramban is laying out things is that the first pasuk is that the Jewish people should make sure that they're not afraid because they have Hashem, who took them out from Egypt, fighting for them. And also they have to understand that, as the Kohen tells them, for Hashem your God goes with you, means that don't get caught up in your own trust in your own military capabilities. It's all about Hashem. Hashem will bring down your enemies. Hashem can even make it that you can fight the war and no one should get killed. And that's what the Kohen tells the Jewish people. And then you have the Shoftim, the officers, that have to be more practical about the possibility that somebody will die in war, and therefore they announce about the people who are exempt from going to war. Okay, that is what we would call a simple interpretation to this part. I want to share with you now the Orach Chaim. The Orach Chaim takes Parak Chav Pasuk Aleph, chapter 20, verse 1, and he says that the war we're talking about in the Parsha is not just an actual war, but a spiritual war. The Torah here is also alluding to another war, a spiritual war. So Orach Chaim says, Ulai Sharamaz HaKasav Melchemes Adim Yitzray. We could say that the Torah is alluding to here the war that a person has with his evil inclination, with the part of him that's always trying to draw him away from Hashem. And the goal here is to strengthen a person, that he should not be weak and should not be weak-hearted when it comes to this war. The Amar, when you go out to the war, Hayadua, the implication of those words, when you go out to war, it means the war. When you go out to war, means the ultimate war. The ultimate war, the greatest war that a person has, is with his Yetzer Hara. There, the Chovos HaLevavos brings a story of a Jewish army that came back from battle, and a sage met them, and he said to them, basically, okay, you're ready now for the bigger battle? And they said, what bigger battle? They just came back from battle. And he said, the bigger battle is the battle with the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination within a person. Now, the Orach Chaim continues, in this war, there are two things that weaken a person's strength and resolve. Really, resolve is the word here, when it comes to battling one's evil inclination. Number one, who's a better warrior when it comes here? Who's got the upper hand? Who's more clever? Who's the better soldier? Who battles better in this battle between you and the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara, he's stronger. He is more savvy. He is more cunning. His ability to fight against you, he definitely has something. He has a lot up on us when it comes to the actual battle. You know, to say that you're as savvy in battle, you're as well versed in battle with the Yetzer Hara as he is with you. He's a much stronger opponent. He's a much stronger enemy. Beis. Number two, use the word harkavas ha'adam. What a person's makeup is, what a person is made up of, all the different physical aspects of him, actually push him to desire what the Yetzer Hara, what the inclination wants us to do. The inclination within us is what pulls us to follow our desires, even when they're against the will of Hashem. Now, so the second difficulty that man faces in this battle is the fact that naturally he has the tendency to want to do what the Yetzer Hara wants from him. And that's what holds him back from following the Torah and mitzvahs. Now, all the more so if a person has already given into the Yetzer Hara and already has done sins, that actually gives strength to the Yetzer Hara to convince a person to go further. The Ohr HaChaim writes in different places that when you do a sin, you actually create koiches hara, you create powers of evil, call it evil impurities, call it an evil energy that actually pushes a person to sin more. So number one, so here's the issues here that a person faces with toward the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is a much stronger enemy. He knows how to fight against you better than you know how to fight against him. That's number one. Number two, naturally, based on your nature, based on what people are made of, they want to do what the Yetzer Hara is trying to get them to do. So that's the second part. The third difficulty is the fact that if they've already sinned before, then those sins before have created powers that push a person more, that actually aid the Yetzer Hara, that push a person more to follow what the Yetzer Hara wants a person to do, not follow Torah mitzvahs. So these are the three difficulties a person finds in this battle. So there, Lazeba Devar Hashem Kan. Regarding this, the word of Hashem comes here, the Amar, and the Torah says, He says, La Milchama. If you go out to war, you're going to see. Seeing here doesn't mean literally see. See means you're going to see in your mind. You're going to see horses and chariots. What is horses and chariots here symbolize? They're symbols. Sus keneged mashu ayetzer sus mucha lemalchama masha'inu kena adam. The horse is a symbol to, or is a simile to the idea of that a horse is trained to fight wars, and now you're facing a horse. You're facing the Yetzer Hara that's well trained and well equipped to fight a war against you. And you're not only that, you're going to see when you see chariots. Chariots refers to or alludes to how he calls harkava sa'adam. Harkava means the combination. And rechav means the combination, means the upmake of what a person is made of that naturally pulls him towards what the Yetzer Hara wants. So that's, you're going to see sus v'rechav. You're going to see horse, means you're going to see the powerful Yetzer Hara who was so well equipped to fight you and you're so weak against it. And you're going to see rechav, you're going to see chariots. But here it means from the word harkava, combination, from what a person is made up of, which draws a person to want to do what the Yetzer Hara wants from him. The Amrai, and then the pasuk says, Am Rav Mimcha, a nation that is more numerous than you. What's the nation more numerous from you in this case? That refers to the powers of evil that have come due to your previous sins that add strength and push a person more to sin. Okay, so this is what a person is facing in this battle against the Yetzer Hara. What does the Torah say? Loi sira mehem. Do not be afraid of them. Vatam, why? Hashem Elokecha imach. Hashem, your God, is with you. Pirish. Hein emes ema yisabah lemelchama b'koichacha emorcha lamed b'melchama zu. If you were trying to defeat the Yetzer Hara one-on-one, mano a mano, you against the Yetzer Hara, there's no way you could win. Avokeven Hashem Elokecha imcha. But being that Hashem is with you, koicha gadol atzilcha, He has great power to save you. Kikashabo adam litoyer. Because when a person wants to come to purify, he wants to do what's right. Yemina yisbarach mekabelasei. Hashem's right hand, so to speak, receives him. V'nitbak laHashem, and he clings to Hashem. V'yachnia meitzarav, and he will lower your enemies. That means that when you're fighting the Yetzer Hara and he seems overwhelming, don't worry, don't be afraid. Hashem is with you. You're not fighting this battle alone, because you can't fight this battle alone, as he's going to bring down from the Talmud later. You can't fight this battle alone. You only fight because you can only win this battle because Hashem is with you. And that's what you should realize. If you want to do what's right, if you want to withstand the Yetzer Hara, know that Hashem is going to receive you. You're going to cling to you cling to Hashem, and Hashem will give you the strength to overcome. It doesn't mean there won't be a battle, but you'll have the ability to overcome that battle. And then the pasuk says, Hashem was with you. Hashem hamal chameretz Mitzrayim. Hashem who took you out from the land of Egypt. What's the point of mentioning here took you out from the land of Egypt? Again, in this interpretation, that the Torah is not referring to a physical war, but Hashem is we're talking about a spiritual war against the Yetzer Hara. What does the fact that Hashem took you out of Egypt have to do with that? The answer is says the Arachayim, what he means to say here is that he uses Kabbalistic terms, but his point is to say that when Hashem took us out of Egypt, he took us out from the grips of evil. Egypt represented evil, the epitome of evil. And we were, so to speak, in a klipa. We were in a shell. We were enclosed in a shell of evil. Again, that's a Kabbalistic term. And Hashem removed that shell that we can be taken out from that evil. That is what Yetzias Mitzrayim was. That's what taking us out of Egypt was. And therefore, if that's what Yetzias Mitzrayim was, it was taking us out from the klipa, from the shell of evil. Know that just as Hashem did that for us then, Hashem will do that for every individual when they need to fight against the Yetzer Hara. So the Orach Chaim is saying that we have the Pashup Pshat, we have the simple interpretation of these verses, teaching us about actual war. But not only that, we also have here where the Torah is alluding to an even greater war, the war against the Yetzer Hara, and that a person should never give up and know that they have Hashem with them to help them in this war, to allow them to be able to overcome the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, and take and look at Yetzias Mitzrayim. Look at the exodus from Egypt. Hashem took us out from the grips of evil then. That tells you that he will always take us, he'll take out even not only the Jewish people from the grips of evil, but each and every individual who needs to be removed from the grips of the Yetzer Hara, from the evil inclination. Okay, now the next thing. The next thing I want to do, we'll go back now for something in the beginning of the Parsha. All right? Right, very back to the beginning. And this is the beginning of Parsha Shoftim. It is Perek Tes Zayin, chapter 16, Pasuk Yud Ches, verse 18. And the first pasuk reads, Shoftim v'shoitrim, judges and officers. Titan locha b'chol sha'arecha, you shall appoint at all your in all your gates, which means in all your cities. Very often, the Torah uses the word sharech, your gates, when it talks about cities. That Hashem, your God, gives to your tribes. And they shall judge the nation with a righteous judgment. Okay, so this is the pasuk talking about appointing judges and officers. What's an officer? An officer is, so to speak, a policeman. You know, a judge makes a judgment, right? Who's going to enforce it? Who's going to make sure that the judgment is carried out? There have to be people who are going to enforce it. That's a shoter. That's the officer. So shoftim v'shotrim, judges and officers, you shall appoint at all your gates. So again, we're going to go into homiletic interpretation here. We're going to go out of the simple interpretation, and the shalah, the Shnei Luchei Sabris, he writes that the Torah here is alluding to something to another type of judge and officer that you have to put at your gates. So the Shalah points out that every person has 7 gates, 7 openings that make a very big difference in his life. 2 ears, he says 7 gates, okay? I don't know if he says 7, but a person has some very important gates. He has 2 ears, 2 eyes. I guess you can include the 2 nostrils and the person's mouth. Okay, those are your gates, and the Torah is saying at those gates, make sure you have judges and officers. At all the openings that you have to make sure that you have judges there. You have to make sure that at those gates, you make the right judgment. You have to make sure that your eyes see the right things. You have to make sure that when your eye has to see something that they shouldn't see, will they continue seeing it or will they look away? You need a judge for that. You need a judge to go ahead and decide for you that's not the way, what's right and what's wrong. And what's the judge over your eyes? The judge over your eyes is your seichel, is your intellect, is your neshama that's within you, that pushes you to do what's right and helps you understand what's right and wrong. So you have to have judges at the gates of your eyes, because those eyes are gates. They can be open to the wrong things. They can choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. You have to have judges there. By your ears, you have to have judges, because ears also, what are ears going to hear? The right things or the wrong things? Will the ears hear lashon hara? Will they hear evil speech? Will they hear just, devarim b'telim, idle chatter? Will they hear immoral things? Again, you have to have a judge. You have to appoint a judge at your ears. You've got to be able to judge what's right to listen to, what's wrong to listen to. Same thing also, even by what you smell, that also can have its effect on a person. And above all is the mouth, is the gate of the mouth. The mouth means the power of speech. The power of speech is the ultimate power of the human being. And there you need a judge. Are you going to say the right things or not? Are you going to use your mouth to speak lashon hara, chas v'shalom? Are you going to use your mouth to say words of Torah? Are you going to use your mouth to say litzanos, just to make to speak scornfully? Are you going to use your mouth to say the right things, to encourage people to say the right things? So you need a judge there, the Torah is saying. You need a judge by your mouth to make sure that you're going to say the right things. So that's the shofet, that's the judge. The judge is the neshama within you that is going to help you decide and judge what's right and what's wrong. And what's the shoter? And what's the officer? What's the officer that's going to enforce this? So, and that, Rabbi Lapian explained, the officer is one's yiras shamayim, one's fear of heaven. The fact that if a person works on themselves through the study of Musar, through davening, a person has to develop within themselves a recognition of being in the presence of Hashem, so that that's what's going to keep them in line. You can make the right decision. Every judge can make a certain decision, but that decision needs to be carried out. The judgment doesn't always manifest itself in being carried out. Something has to be there to help the judge carry it out. A regular judge needs an officer. The judge within you, the neshama, what's going to make that the judgments and the neshama should be carried out, that's going to be a person's yiras shamayim. That's a person's fear of heaven. That means a person's recognition of Hashem in his life. And that recognition comes from, as I said, it comes from davening. It comes from the study of Musar. It starts from instilling a person working to instill in themselves. The life is not just something that goes on its own. We are in the presence of Hashem. We have a relationship with Hashem. We have responsibility to Hashem. And the more that we make that part of who we are, that is what's going to enforce. That's going to carry out the judgments that are taking place within us. So that's how Rabbi Eliyahu Lapian Zatzal elaborate on the shalah. Judges and officers you shall appoint for you. For you means for you, every individual has to appoint judges and officers. B'chol sharecha, at all their gates and all their openings. They have to have judges. They have to have their neshama and their intellect. They have to They have to be working on making the right decisions of what's right and what's wrong. And they need officers there. They need the guard. They need the officers. They need the enforcers. You need yiras shamayim. You need fear of heaven. Again, the recognition that one is always in the presence of Hashem and that we live with Hashem. That's what's going to be able to make the judgments be carried out. So the Torah here is talking about literal judges, but it's also talking about the judges and the officers that we have to point within us to make sure that all our gates are letting in only the proper things and keeping out those things that are not proper. Have a wonderful evening.